This is Mommyhood Unscripted, a show about moms for moms.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We are back with this special 6-part series called Mommyhood Unscripted, The Work Within. And joining me for this series, Carrie Lupoli, who is a certified nutritionist, founder of Disruptive Nutrition, TedX speaker, and award-winning behavior specialist and educator in schools around the world. She's also, by the way, the host of Diet Disruptors, which is an Apple Top 100 health and wellness podcast, which supports women through the science of blood sugar stabilization and behavior change. And this series is really here to hold you, to support you. This is episode number 3 out of 6 episodes we have for this series. So thanks for finding us. Thanks for being here. And we appreciate your time. So, Carrie, how you doing?
I am good, and I'm excited about this topic because
this is so good.
I mean, you as a mom with young kids, it's chaos,
Absolute
right?
chaos. I call like the gauntlet like anytime after 4 o'clock, right? They come home from school.
The witching hour.
The witching hour. And you're so excited to see them. And then, you know, they're maybe not as excited to see you. They're tired. They're cranky. Where's
And then
my
they have
dinner?
to eat.
Yes. The
And then, like,
food.
we have dogs, and that's always the time when the dogs just like
The
we got the
zoomies.
zoomies. Yes.
Oh my God. I think kids get the zoomies too.
Yep.
So today we're discussing from chaos to clarity and why moms really need systems and not just routines. And I love this. I love how you spelled this out, why we need systems, because I'm an Aquarius and I am just not good at routines. An Aquarius with ADHD, routines out
Harder.
the window.
Much harder,
so
right?
So much harder. So why are you saying systems are different than routines?
And it's so interesting, right? Because I'm a nutritionist. And so I'll often get clients that are like, I don't understand like why this is part of a nutrition approach. But I am very much a believer in us becoming the healthiest version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in different seasons of your life. I am now an empty nester, which looks very different than when my kids were growing up. And so what I can do in my systems, in my daily life activities look very different than when they were little. But in order for us to truly be healthy, we have to look at all the different aspects of our life. And let's be honest, when life is crazy and chaotic and you have to feed the kids and deal with the dog and all the other things, you're gonna put yourself last. And then when I talk to women in their 50s and 60s that are then empty nesters and their body is failing them, they're going through all sorts of menopausal symptoms, depression, anxiety, metabolic disease, they realize like they put everybody else first. And it's not a matter of putting yourself ahead of everybody else. It's actually prioritizing yourself so that you can take care of everybody else. And so thinking about systems and routines is self-care, it is caring for your kids, it is becoming healthy in a household. And so we have to dig into this because chaos does not allow us to be healthy.
No.
It just doesn't.
And I survive. I thrive in chaos. When things are calm, that's when I go, wait, like that's when I struggle. Yeah, which is so weird. And I think that so many moms can relate to that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not that we're creating the chaos on purpose, but I think just by way of being thrown into motherhood and, you know, in different stages and not knowing what's to come around the corner, everything is just so unpredictable and unexpected. And I think life would be boring if it was obviously predictable.
Yeah.
But I think it gets to the point where when you're really struggling and literally moving from point A to point B and you are facing the big B word, burnout, that's what we want to avoid because that's not going to be good for you and for the whole household.
No, and I remember once I ran away from home. I literally ran away from home. We were living in Cleveland. We were moving to Connecticut, and my husband was already working in Connecticut. I was living in Cleveland, working, traveling. I had my 2 kids. I was packing the whole house myself, and he was in Connecticut, working and trying to get our house ready. And I was so burned out. My mother-in-law was flying into Cleveland so she could watch the girls so that I could go see what was going on with the house that we had bought. And I got off in Boston, and I stayed in a hotel. I ran away. My husband thought I was coming to Connecticut. My mother-in-law thought I was leaving to go, and I checked into a hotel, and I spent the night by myself, and nobody knew where I was.
Wow, but you needed that.
I had to, but that's not healthy, right? And now, I would say, everybody needs some time, but it was the why I did it. I felt like I could not be anything for anybody because I couldn't even function myself. So we've got to figure out ways to be able to get past that. And so routines, this is the thing. Everybody talks about routines. You need a routine for this, routine for that. But then we don't implement the routine.
Right.
Like, it's an idea. And people talk about intentionality all the time. And I'm like, intentionality is great. You need to be intentional, but execution is actually the stuff. Like, action is the only thing that creates change. And so a routine to me is like an idea. But a system is the structure behind the routine. So let's say you say the routine is that we are going to do, let's just say bath time, like 8 o'clock at night. I don't know, 6 o'clock at night, whatever.
Well,
time.
no,
What
it's
time
about
is-
8 o'clock at
is
night
it?
for us these
Even
days
though you
in the
want
summer.
bedtime to be like 8:30, right? Like, okay, so bath time's at 8 o'clock. So in order for bath time to happen at 8 o'clock, that's the quote unquote routine. What are the structures, the systems that have to be in place to make it so it's not such a lift? It becomes automatic. Automation is what so many businesses thrive on. It's what like our travel system thrives on. Like Amazon, you don't get that delivery on the same day without systems. And so we need to be just thinking a little bit more and can be a little proactive to say, okay, what do you need to set up? Like, in order to make sure bath time always happens. And so what would be, I don't know, what would be some structures to put in place to make sure bath time is actually systematic versus just thinking routine? Because routine is the overall idea, but the systems are the little tiny structures that you have put in place to make it so you don't have to think about it.
So the routine doesn't necessarily have to be the time, right? It could just be, okay, this is the order of things we do it in, but the system you're saying is, no, we need to schedule this in so there's a hard out or a hard start time.
And like, where are the towels, right? Where are the accoutrements, the play toys, whatever it is. And if the kids know the systems, they will then start to implement some of the systems. The systems don't have to sit on the mom, but the systems can sit with the family. Think about grocery shopping. Okay, so we might think that we're grocery shopping. I'm going to grocery shop on Sundays. But if we don't actually have a system to make that happen, like where are the kids going to be on Sundays? What time is it going to happen? How does it fit in?
You're speaking to me right now. That's why I'm laughing.
So the idea
Oh my
sounds
gosh.
great, but then when push comes to shove, think about it. You sit there on a Sunday, you're like, I got to grocery shop today.
Yep.
And then you got to figure out, you got to make a list. I got to figure, like, I'll take the kids with me. It's going to be but if you could actually have a system set up so grocery shopping becomes just like brushing your teeth and you don't have to overthink it, it gets done. So when I work with clients, I really say, okay, first, what's the thing that derails you the most? The thing that when you look at your schedule, you realize I'm really not doing consistently.
Dinner, cooking dinner.
All right.
Making food.
And I used to say, dinner, it's like they have to eat every day.
Right.
Ugh. And I used to joke that dinner like surprised me every day. It'd be like 5:45 and I'd be, I gotta make dinner.
Oh my word, this is my life I'm living right now, Carrie.
I get it, that's why I ran away.
Oh.
But then because I'm a behavior specialist. I was a behavior specialist for more than 20 years. And when I was working with kids and then adults and changing behaviors, we realized you have to put in place these scaffold systems in order to make behavior change stick.
Scaffold systems, what is that?
Okay, so let's talk about dinner time, for example. So if we can be setting up a system where, for example, are there go-to meals that you guys just always have that like you don't have to think about?
The frozen raviolis that are really healthy.
Okay, great.
What's something else? Sometimes I'll find something like healthy to pick up that's fresh food. You know, some of those markets that they have with already made food.
Which is ideal, but it's probably not a system for you. It's like if I happen to run into that, right?
Yeah, chicken nuggets.
Yep.
So grilled cheese.
But see, do you see what ends up happening? Like we get this little feeling of guilt because I haven't done this.
Because I haven't planned or
gourmet
meal prepped. Yeah.
Right. So if we have a system where, and my sister used to do this, and this is where I actually watched for her. She has the same exact menu every single month, literally, except she did 3 days a month that she left it open-ended because she loved to cook, but she just couldn't cook. 2 little kids, full-time job, husband worked full-time, they both traveled. She had a calendar. And she literally just Mondays were this, Tuesdays were this, and it would be grilled cheese. It would be chicken nuggets. She gave herself permission to have it. But all of the food was already ready and done. So I don't even go to the grocery store, I Instacart. Like part of my system is that I Instacart, everything that I bought is on a list. It's so simple and easy. And I schedule the time on a Sunday morning. It takes me 15 minutes. And so I get that Instacart can be more expensive, but if 15 minutes versus an hour and a half, to me, that's the season of your life that you're in right now. So what is the system? Okay, so I'm setting an alarm. So every Sunday morning at 9 a.m., I'm Instacarting, I'm figuring out the menu, and the menu meaning like you can do that once a month.
Right.
And I have that system. So on Monday night, you already know we're doing chicken nuggets. And you make it okay as opposed to, I guess we'll just have chicken nuggets. Like, it's just okay to have chicken nuggets.
Because you're going into it with a negative mindset, and then
you feel like a failure.
Yeah, and then that's the tone for the rest of the night, and then you're already stressed out. The kids are fighting. They're hungry. Oh no, it's 6:30. We haven't started dinner yet. Oh no, bath time's gonna be pushed back. Oh, you're going to bed later. Oh, and you're cranky the next morning because you're,
Right.
Yes, it's such a ripple effect. So let me ask you this: when you said that it was your sister, that did this, what did she notice? What was the difference when she had a set menu for the month?
It is so funny because I heard of this. He didn't tell me this because I don't know, but I heard President Obama literally would like just have the same suits out. He didn't choose. It just was the suit jacket was the suit jacket. He had the same suits and he just picked. He took away the cognitive load. And what we know about behavior, what we know about brains, and what we know about consistent execution is that the less we have to think, the more we can do. You definitely don't think about brushing your teeth.
The less we have to think,
the more we can do.
The more we can do. I wanted to pause you there because that's huge. Okay.
And the important things we have to think about.
Right.
You want the cognitive load to be on the things like your career, about like how you're responding to kids. When I used to joke when my kids were teenagers, I never knew when fetal position on the couch would come. Like a little teenager, fetal position on the couch, crying because of something that somebody said or something's, and those were the times I needed to have my cognitive mind there. But dinner happens every single day at 6 o'clock.
You don't want to have to think about it as much.
We can't think about it as much.
This is so good. Okay, so it's not too late to get into a good system.
No, because I ran away when my kids were like 10 and 11. So then I started really with the system. So you're well ahead of the game.
Okay. No, and I feel like that the food, the dinner, like that evening, that time, that is, so many people are complaining and struggling with that.
And I could never get around meal prepping. Okay, this is a big difference. And I think that we don't recognize this. I teach this to my clients all the time. There's a difference between meal prepping and meal planning.
What's the difference?
I don't meal prep.
Okay.
I meal plan.
Meal plan.
So, and we know that only action creates change. So you actually gotta do something with the plan.
Yeah.
But my 9 o'clock Sunday morning, now it can be like if you can dedicate 15 minutes, get up a little before the kids on a Sunday. I'm not saying you have to cook all this food and put it in Tupperwares and get it ready for the week. I would never do that. One time I took an entire Saturday because I downloaded something about like 30 freezer meals that you can make in advance. It took me 8 hours and I felt so accomplished, but the next month I was like, I can't do that again.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So meal planning is taking the time to say, okay, what are we going to have for dinner? Do I have the right puzzle pieces in the fridge or the freezer in order to make that plan happen? And I Instacart and I make sure I have the right puzzle pieces in the fridge. So in all reality, I can open the fridge and everything I need is there. And very often for us, I didn't know like necessarily what I felt like cooking. So I deviated from my sister a little. My sister was like chicken nuggets, hot dogs. And again, we go with the healthiest versions of what we can. But I was like, okay, these are my proteins, these are my veggies, these are the carbs. So I have what I call PFC puzzle pieces in my fridge all the time. So it's like I knew last night I had salmon. I pulled out salmon in the morning. I was like, we're gonna do salmon, we're gonna do broccoli, and we're gonna do rice. That was dinner. I had it all in there. So the system was already there. I didn't have to think very much, but I didn't know what I was gonna feel like having that day.
Right.
So I gave myself a little bit of like, I could have salmon, I could have chicken. I have all these proteins in the fridge for the week, and I just mix and match. It's sort of like your wardrobe, right? Like sometimes women like to choose that day what I feel like.
Yeah.
So that's another option.
And that doesn't feel as overwhelming. I think the season of parenting and life that I'm in is the picky eaters. So if it was just my husband and I wouldn't that would not be as overwhelming. Even though when I think back, convenience definitely won over healthy choices. And by that, I do not like to cook. My dad was a chef for over 30 years. I wish I had that gene of wanting to he can go into a kitchen, you can have no food items hardly,
chopped.
and just make this gourmet meal. And I think I was spoiled in that sense. I grew up eating really, really well because my dad cooked all the time. My mom cooked, you know. They had a restaurant. We went to go eat there if my mom wanted a night off from cooking or he was busy. And now I'm coming into my family going, I appreciate good food. I love good food. I love to eat. But I don't like to make it, and I struggle so hard. And my kids are so, well, not my daughter, my son is a very picky eater right now.
So you know what he likes, right?
I mean, yeah, but then I feel the guilt over like hot dogs, chicken nuggets, mac and cheese.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing that I will say too. I say this to my kids. This is not a gourmet restaurant. It's not a menu. This is what you're eating.
Yeah.
And I know that it's really hard, but they will not starve. I promise.
Oh, right.
They will
always,
not starve,
yes.
right?
I'm sounding like my kids
there's
don't
this
eat.
philosophy
They do.
of we're going to try new things.
Yeah.
But the bigger piece is that I think in some ways when we grew up, like my mom always cooked. And then we have this sort of unwritten belief that we have to do that in order to be the mom that we're supposed to be. It's just not true.
Right.
You're doing so many things. You're here all day. You're working all day. At the evening, we need to feed them, and you need to not have to think about it that much, and we want to give them as healthy options as possible. You can make all those things true with very simple systems. And in another stage of your life, when your kids are not necessarily needing you as much, when you have more capacity and more brain width to be able to think about things, you might want to be able to cook a meal that takes you a little bit longer because it's a little bit of an escape. But that's not the season that a lot of moms are in when they have little kids. So we have to set up these systems and routines. I would also argue that every single person, and I say this over and over and over and over again, that if you spend just even 5 minutes in the morning with yourself going over your day, literally you have, those planners that have all the hours of the day, and you are like, okay, this is what I have to do today. This is my schedule. This is when dinner's going to happen. This is when I'm prepping dinner. And you lay that out every morning. Your brain sees it. You become way more intentional, and you recognize that this is what I have to do. And your to-do list that's really long, if you can't time block it in, you realize I just can't do it. And that's okay. And that's where we have to go from chaos to clarity, having clarity about what's reasonable. Your to-do list will be there for the rest of your life. And as much as we can allow that we get through our day and we're like, I got nothing done today. But I don't think we set the expectations for us that are reasonable as women. We think we should be able to do all these other things, but then a kid pees on the floor. And you got to pick up the pee. And so how do you spend the day for 5 minutes in the morning, blocking out your day, giving yourself some margin, and then when you do it again tomorrow, you look at the day before and you're like, okay, this is what I didn't get done. And you either push it over or you put it on your radar list and say, okay, it's on my radar list now. One day, when I have time, I'll add that in there. But getting yourself very intentional every day is a system to be able to implement routines. And if you do anything differently as a mom that's in chaos, that morning time meeting with yourself is so important. You wouldn't do it at work. You guys don't just go on the air without having some sort of a huddle. But we do that. If we want to automate more, we have to have a huddle with ourselves every day.
Yeah, no. And I'm such a list person too. For someone who thrives in the chaos, I'm type A in a way too.
I'm the same way.
And I will do a brain dump. My husband's like finding lists around the house. He's like, Nicole, why are you wasting your time writing all these lists? You don't even accomplish half the stuff on them. It seems like you're spending more time doing it. But I said, for me, it makes me feel better getting it out.
Yes.
And even if I'm able to cross 1 to 3 things off that list, I feel a little bit more accomplished. But then sometimes there's those moments, Carrie, where the failure sneaks in and I look at the list going, oh my gosh, I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to today.
Right.
So what would sometimes there's an overwhelm that comes with that.
But if you actually took the time to say, okay, what is no more than three of the big rocks? Like, when I go to bed tonight, I have to get these 3 things done. If you really prioritize things like that, you realize I don't have to get all of these things done right now. Because if you time block them in, you're going to realize I don't actually have time to do that.
Yeah.
And what we do is we don't prioritize exercise. We don't prioritize actually like spending time with ourselves to get ourselves grounded. And then it's like this slow drip in a cup that eventually overflows and you run away from home mentally, emotionally, or even physically like I did. So when you do that list, one of the things that I suggest is that you actually have a list that says, this is my radar list. It's on the radar, but I know it's not something I have to do right now. And then you take your list and be like, okay, I know I gotta get the permission slip signed for the field trip tomorrow.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
when there's
I know,
that's right? That's easier to accomplish.
But if you can
those.
give yourself what's called the radar list, and you allow yourself the permission to say, I'm putting this here so I don't forget it. But if it's been on your radar list for a while and you go back and you look at it and you're like, I haven't done this yet, and it's nice to do. There's this whole thing, Stephen Covey, who wrote a ton of books, but one about the 7 habits of highly successful people.
Yeah.
He talks about time, and he says, let's look at the things that you have. Are they in 4 different buckets? And they're all around important or urgent. If something is important and urgent, and you are living in that framework in your mind all the time, it's like it's super important and it's super urgent, you're going to be in constant chaos and stress.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And if you really look at it, sometimes we as women put it in that category.
And it doesn't have to be
But it might
there.
not need to be there. Now, it might be important and not urgent. And if you have a time, like when the kids are asleep, and you have something that you want to accomplish, and it's in the important and not urgent matrix, it feels very productive. It feels, because you're proactive.
Right.
And so I always suggest, like, if we can get one thing on our list a week that feels important but not urgent, it's an amazing feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah.
But if we're living in important and urgent all the time, we really got to take a step back and say, am I really evaluating this correctly? Now, if we're doing not important and urgent things, which I think we do a lot, we think we have to do things, but like our husband doesn't feel like it's that bad. Like, I would think the toilet was a complete disaster and we have to clean the toilets, and he's like, it's fine. Not really that important, but I put a lot of urgency on it because I had a different level of like cleanliness.
Yeah.
But if we really ask ourselves, what can we let go? Because we can't do it all. So if you can get them in, when I have a big to-do list, I write this matrix out: important and urgent, important, not urgent, not important and urgent, and not important and not urgent. Because there's stuff on our list that's actually not important, it's not urgent, but like we have it on there.
Right.
And because we see it on the list, we like freak out if things don't get done.
Ooh,
but if
I
it's
love
sitting in
that.
that quadrant,
Yeah.
you give yourself permission to be like, actually, this isn't really that important. It's not that urgent. Why am I freaking out about it? Like, I don't know, maybe you've agreed to make cupcakes at the bake sale. There's going to be 100 other moms that make the cupcakes at the bake sale. That might be not really that important and really not that urgent.
Right.
And then you could put it in that matrix, in that quadrant, and you're like, okay, I'm going to let that go.
Do you feel that this has kind of trained your brain too to troubleshoot in situations with, with things that arise, or, that little like that voice saying, oh, you're a failure, you didn't do this. Has it helped you over?
Well, that little voice pops up every single day.
Yeah.
Right? That's why morning time is so important. In my old house, we had a pool, and there were these cushions by the pool, and every single morning, a bird would poop on the same cushion every day. It was crazy. And I would have to wake up and get a microfiber and clean the poop off. And as long as I did it every day, it was fine. But like when I would go on vacation or I would forget about it, the poop would add up. It was so gross. I had to clean it. I had to scrub it. It never got totally clean. I want us to think about our days kind of like bird poop.
Yeah.
All day long, birds are going to poop on the cushion. And if we can show up every morning for 5 minutes to clean the bird poop off of the day before and just get our mind into today is a new day, and these are the things I am aiming to accomplish today, and be rational and reasonable. And that's why I say time block it in, because you'll realize there just aren't enough hours in the day to do all the things that you think you can do. You give yourself that permission and grace, you've cleaned the bird poop off. And then if you do that every single day, it doesn't get that big.
Right.
You don't fall that far off. You can't look back in 6 months and go, where is my life? What am I doing? Because every day you're cleaning the bird poop off. But if you let it go too long, where you're just not aware of the little voice, of the chaos, then the bird poop just adds up, and it's really hard to clean up.
Oh, I love that analogy. My husband always says to me too, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. And, again, it's applicable, right? Because there are some things that may seem more urgent to you that may not be to your partner. But last night, I folded 2.5 loads of laundry, one that was piled on our bed. So I had to fold that laundry in order for us to get and sleep. And then like about a basket and a half. And at the same time, I watched a show I've been wanting to catch up on. And I said, I am going to block out this time once my kids are asleep. And yes, I may be up until 11 o'clock at night, but I'm doing 2 things at once, something I really wanted to do. I'm being present, and I'm not doing it fast. I'm not putting a timestamp on it. And it was important to do the laundry, but not urgent. And I put so much pressure on myself all week.
That was such a good example of also a system. So laundry seems to be the number one thing that so many of the moms that I work with have, like laundry and dinner. Like those are always the things, right? But I think you make a really good point. Doing 2.5 loads of laundry because you're just like exasperated by how much is there is always going to feel overwhelming. And then you don't do the laundry when it's a little bit because you remember how awful it was when you did it with 2.5 and you're like, I don't feel like doing it. But if you can get yourself into a system, and we can actually help the kids get into a system with this. I don't think kids are too young to be like, it's Tuesday. What does Tuesday mean? Tuesdays bring your laundry to the laundry, to the washer.
Absolutely.
And they put their stuff in the washer. It's like, it's not going out into the river and like having to clean the clothes, but we let it go so big. So we have a system where we have very small laundry baskets. And as soon as a laundry basket is full, now my kids all have to do their own laundry. They've had to do their own laundry since they were about 8 years old.
Okay.
But before that, they just had to take their laundry to the laundry machine, but as soon as their basket was full. And then it had to go the laundry machine, the washer dryer, the washer and dryer, right? But if you have a small thing and it's really not overwhelming. So what is this system? And everybody's got a different kind of system in their house, an organization in their house, but there is a system around laundry that you can do. Ours was everybody had to do their own. I did the towels. My husband does his own laundry. I do my own laundry. The kids do their own laundry.
I love that.
Yeah,
that is
and
so
it really
good.
does work. But if you did 2.5 loads of laundry all at once, it will be overwhelming for you. But if you do a little bit twice a week, and then that's your also time to watch your show, that's a system.
Right. So then that way I don't have to do 2 things at once. I can actually just sit and enjoy the show.
You could look forward to doing laundry, though. You could if you decided you wanted to habit stack. And that's what a habit stacking is like. I'm doing a small amount, so you're not sitting there for 2 hours.
Right.
But you can watch an episode and fold laundry. You do that twice a week. You're not thinking about laundry anymore. And you realize that's the whole, I don't want to think about it.
Right.
It just becomes part of the automation in your house.
I love that. From chaos to clarity. I have learned so much, Carrie. I already have all these ideas churning and calendars.
Well,
I want
that's
to set up for
actually
my
the
kids.
thing, right? Just understand the concept, and then you'll start to figure it out.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think this episode is helping a lot of people understanding the concept, and you all can figure it out too. If you like what you heard, there's another place that you can go for these conversations. Mommyhood Unscripted is available in podcast form, so you can take these conversations with you wherever you go. Maybe listen to it while you're folding laundry or riding in the car. Share it with your friends too. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Again, all you have to do is search Mommyhood Unscripted. So make sure to subscribe today. Carrie, thanks so much. Can't wait for some more episodes on this special series of Mommyhood Unscripted, The Work Within.
Thanks.